question is, how much longer are we going to be in this pit? And what is it like to live with the unknown as the nights are getting darker and the death rate is rising and we just don't know? So today, on the eve of Hanukkah 2 into Shabbat, we are in word number 9, pit, Bo. And can this pit be a portal? Welcome back to Word, my weekly password to the riddles of our lives. I'm Amichai Levi, right on the edge of Harlem, hanging out with Frederick Douglass, who wrote about the horrible pit. And he wrote about the willful ignorance of slavers and those supporting and opposing abolition, and imposing illiteracy on him and so many, so they did not have the power of the word to get out of the pit. And today I'm thinking about that pit as we are all in isolation and in our lockdown, as we finding midwinter, the darkness of so cold, even though there's so much promise in the darkness. And we are in the story of Joseph, our ancestor, who in chapter 37 of the book of Genesis, this week's Torah story, Vayeshev, ends up in a pit. He's the prince, the spoiled favorite, with his bedecked, special, query coat. He ends up in a pit because his brothers want to slave him, because they hate him, because humans do that to each other. And Joseph ends up in the pit. Imagine being in that pit, not knowing how much longer, what's going to happen. And Genesis says, Bor-Pit and Bor-Mayim. It's a water pit, a cistern. But there is no water in it now, just snakes and scorpions and fear. Pit. So this week's word is pit. For those of us in isolation, for those of us in incarceration. A man was killed last night by the federal government. Federal execution back after 17 years. Another one today and more. Because the darkness of the pit is also the darkness of the state of mind that allows this government in our name still maintain the death penalty. That's a pit. The racism that is part of this procedure that Douglass wrote about, that we are knowing so much more about, that's a pit. Our own anxiety midwinter and mid-pandemic, that's a pit. And there's so many others. How do we get out of this pit? From Joseph, maybe we learn patience, and that we are not the first nor the last to be in a pit. And also that, at least in English, a pit, the pits is also what's going to let this fruit grow. And the bowl, the cistern, will once again be full of water. So into this Shabbat and this weekend and this midwinter, mid-pandemic, may we rise, and may all of us who are in incarceration and in isolation and even on death row find a way to be in the pit and find a portal through patience into hope and next. Shabbat Shalom. Pit, portal, power, light it up.